Welcome. My name's Alexis Davis. I'm the COO here at Technology Advancement Center. And today we're going to have a little preview for what's coming in our Defend the Rail 2026, coming February 10th and 11th. And we are joined today by our premier corporate sponsor, Bureau Veritas, including Floris Dukafit and Sjoerd Perelkamp. So welcome, and we look forward to having a great conversation. If I can turn it over to both of you, Sjoerd, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. So my name is Sjoerd. I'm responsible as a global director for the industrial cybersecurity services at Bureau Veritas. And as we serve many clients in the rail sector, from product manufacturing all the way up to the operators of the trains, I'm very happy to join this initiative and also to add to the event that we are organizing together then.
Great, great, thank you. Floris?
Yes, well, thank you. Thanks for having us as well. Floris Dukafit, commercial director here at the BB Cybersecurity, and we help our U.S. and European railway clients to become more cyber resilient. I attended the Defend the Railroad last year, or November 2024.
Yep.
And Defend the Airport as well. So we're pretty familiar with the event, and it brings together a very nice mix of, I would say, regulators, railway operators, and also suppliers of those railway operators that we help get more cybersecurity as well.
That's great. In fact, Floris, you really just jumped the gun on how I was going to kick this all off. One, you did a great overview actually of what Defend the Rail is all about because, yes, you are a returner. So thank you. It was great seeing you last year. And I was going to kick it off to really ask, and you just touched on it already, Bureau Veritas, how does participating in Defend the Rail for you really align with your broader missions and the ability to support critical infrastructure in the rail community specifically?
Yes, well, I think if you look at our mission, is we want to be an expert partner in cybersecurity for our clients. We do that particular in the railway sector, which we are talking about today. And I think that the event brings together the whole value chain from railway operators, the rolling stock, system integrators, and the regulators. And where we as Bureau Veritas Cybersecurity have been pushing a lot for cybersecurity regulation in the past and are still doing, which supports, and this event then supports us in our broader mission to get cybersecurity compliant products towards the railway sector. So you have manufacturers who want their product to be compliant towards a certain cybersecurity standard, like IEC 62443, and Sjoerd will talk a little bit more about that as well. And that is what this event brings together for us in Maryland.
That's great. That's great. And I'll add on, Floris, with the event itself, it's a collaborative event. And just what you described, the event brings the right people into the room to actually get together on those types of problems and hear of the products and, actually have the discussion right there on the spot. So I'd love to hear that that's something that you recognize as well, that, with you being here, leading and being a part of the discussion, you're the participants, you're part of the solution. So great. That's well said. It's exactly what we like to have joining.
Yeah, and what I hope for 2026 a bit is that we have the FIFA World Cup coming to the US. Well, I live in Boston myself. I know that the commuter rails are also worried about what are the new cybersecurity threats for that will be coming when we host a super large event here in the US. All international travel will focus on the US. And I hope that to see that in the event as well this year, that maybe a bit of my personal passion, football, will be represented in one of the topics that Defend the Rail as well.
Yeah, I hope it's a win-win, especially, the Northeast. I mean, my goodness, the most densely populated, well, maybe not the most, but certainly one of the mostly densely populated railway geographic areas in our country and broader. So absolutely, it's going to see a lot of traffic during that.
Yeah, I can
Definitely.
also relate to that a little bit. So last year we also had, or earlier this year actually, we also had the NATO Security Summit here in the Netherlands. So I live in the Netherlands in Europe, and also there was yeah, given the whole geopolitical tensions that are there around the globe, there was a whole event actually to make sure that government, rail sector, and other companies in the critical infrastructure started working together on doing all kind of threat modeling workshops. Like, hey, if a geopolitical actor would try to harm us here during the NATO Security Summit, what are the entry points? How can they get things achieved? So I think we can replicate many of these type of things also for the events in the US later on with Flores.
Yeah. I mean, Short, what do you, I mean, what do you think are the greatest challenges that the rail operators are facing today, specifically with cybersecurity?
Yeah, so I think that cybersecurity is really an upcoming topic in the rail sector.
Yeah.
So trains used to be, I would say, relatively dumb, robust, with components directly talking to each other, no interconnections, and so on. And the more we try to work efficiently and make sure that we transport data and systems and steer remotely and so on, the more systems get interconnected. And with this interconnectivity, the risks also rise.
Hmm.
And if you now look at a modern train, for example, there are all kind of systems to control the brakes, to control the doors, etc., and they are all connected to a kind of network. And on the same network or a different network, depending on how you do your architecture, there might also be the systems that flush your toilet. Well, and if there's any place in a train where you don't have cameras, that will be the toilet. So as a hacker, I could go to the toilet, unscrew some hatches, and connect to the network of those type of devices and see if they're in the same network as the brakes. Because, well, you've all seen kind of movies, but this is not a real movie scenario. It could be real.
Yeah.
So cybersecurity is really becoming something to take into account, and you see that cybersecurity is also becoming a license to operate. So many regulators, regulating bodies, including TSA and so on, they are now forcing cybersecurity requirements into all kind of rules and legislations, and that cascades down the whole supply chain. So we both work for operators of trains, and they want to buy a train at the train manufacturer. So they all put all kind of requirements into that. But
Hmm.
then the train builders also have requirements for the ones that build their components, like the doors and the brakes and so on. So you see kind of cascading demand for cybersecurity based on the geopolitical tension and all the incidents that we have seen so far. And all of a sudden you see a whole ecosystem popping up that is also requiring some certification needs. So if a train builder can already rely on the security of a component or a brake or a door, then they in a tendering process require you to get a certified brake or a certified door opener and so on. So you see that those security certifications based on, for example, the IEC 62443 Flores was mentioning is popping up into this chain, which can be a threat if you don't adopt fast enough, but can also be an opportunity. So if you're a component builder and you're ahead of the curve, and we are working with a few of those component builders and setting up test labs for them and the whole secure development lifecycle of their components and certifying it. But if you're then ahead of the curve, you might win some tenders that otherwise would have gone to the competitor that might not be ready for that. So I see that there's more attention. I also see that the risk is increasing with all the interconnectivity, but it's also really an opportunity now to stay ahead of the curve if you prepare well.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you see, you know, with your clients, I mean, with customers, just in general, at Bureau Veritas, investing more time, more dollars into digitalization and modernization of their systems? How have you seen that conversation shift with clients in cybersecurity? Is it hard to get them on board? Are they making the transition pretty easily? I mean, it's always hard when dollars are involved, to make the upgrades that are necessary. But what are you finding?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to go for a first pass, or I have my answer ready as well? So
No, you can take it first.
okay, perfect. Well, if you if you look at the market, is that the first conversation we used to have was, how do I get myself cyber secure, and how do I make sure that my systems are pen tested, that my products that we have in-house are secure, or that we have a team that actually monitors whether there's cyber criminals trying to break into our networks. The new conversation that we are having is how do we secure the whole ecosystem? So how do we make sure that not only the systems that we operate, but also that we connect with are secure, and that we enforce our suppliers to spend a considerable amounts of dollars also on new cybersecurity measures, services like pen testing, or products like monitoring tools, so that you have asset discovery in place for your OT network in cyber. So yeah, if you then look at how our clients currently in the US helping us or getting more dollars spent towards their cybersecurity programs, we see it mostly on the product side. And now with the FIFA World Cup, that's why I mentioned it in the beginning, we see an uptick in, hey, can a services company like Bureau Veritas help us also identify what are the cybersecurity threats that maybe international threat actors will focus on or on the commuter rail or the larger commercial operators that we have here in the US. And that debate is now sparking up because the FIFA World Cup is already in the summer next year.
Yeah.
So I hope to see some of that conversation back at the Defend the Railroad as well, as we are, well, I would say the main player to share the cybersecurity threats that we saw at the NATO summit last year, also here in the US on these kind of events.
Well, you're like, and
Yeah,
I love the example. I mean, the FIFA World Cup, it's perfectly placed event. Well, I should say the conversation to be had at Defend the Railroad, very well placed with the upcoming large event that it's completely tangible and everybody can relate to, and it brings every challenge up to the surface and has to be addressed.
Exactly, and it relates also a bit to, I would say, the live cyber crisis simulation that we are going to present at Defend the Railroad. Because what is the most tangible scenario? I think you used the word tangible. Well, the most tangible scenario is that you have a football match in a stadium, well, near my hometown, Boston here, and that suddenly the MBTA is facing a large cybersecurity event. Well, we'll pick probably a city where the final is, and I haven't looked at the schedule, probably where the final will be held. But that will be mainly the scenario for Defend the Railroad, and we will be simulating some things, probably on the passenger ticketing system. What happens if suddenly no one can check in anymore? What happens if something goes wrong with the signaling systems, which is more on the product manufacturer side and maybe not on the commuter rail itself? So there's a few angles we can take. It's a little bit of I would say a sneak peek, because usually in a crisis you don't know what it's coming. So everyone who's participating during Defend the Railroad will know something around the World Cup, but they don't know what's going on.
Okay, I love that. It's like a teaser. It's a perfect teaser for coming to Defend the Railroad, getting a crisis simulation exercise led by Bureau Veritas with the topic being FIFA World Cup. Did I summarize that appropriately?
Exactly.
Great. I love that. That's great.
Yeah, maybe also to come back a little bit to your earlier question about the digitization and modernization and why companies are spending more money or willing to spend more money. I think it's relatively easy to answer, because if you can't afford to protect it, don't connect it. And you see that the digitization comes with a lot of benefits, and those benefits are only possible if you manage your risks well. So this is not about cybersecurity. This is about managing your risks. And managing risks is something that they have done already for a long time, in safety, in financial risks, in environmental risks, in all kind of other things. And cybersecurity is yet another risk at the table. And as long as you treat it like that, and you also compare those risks to all kind of other risks that you have and balance them out well, then it's an easier discussion to explain why you have to invest in certain cybersecurity measures and why you can also accept certain risks as well. And that's also where I think that Europe is a little bit ahead of the US, also in the area of regulation. So there is the NIS2 directives in Europe that really require the board of a company to be accountable for cybersecurity and to explain to the regulator what type of appropriate measures they take. And they also mandate the board to define the cybersecurity rules and to accept them and to have oversight on the effectiveness of those measures. So there you see really that cybersecurity moved from IT topic or an operational topic to a boardroom level topic. And then if you combine it with the whole digitization and the benefits that you can get from it, it's quite visible that it's worth investing in it to make sure that you do it in a proper way, especially if you read the news and see all those type of cyber attacks on a daily basis.
You know, on that same topic, well said. How about, what do you recommend though for customers who are trying to make those changes, but they can't be disrupting their operations? They don't want to be compromising the operational safety during the transitions of, be it an upgrade, a change, a switch. What do you recommend in that capacity?
Yeah, so I would say what you see is that they try to install some smart equipment, so connected equipment into existing trains that have been running already for quite a while. If you do those type of things, then really network zoning and monitoring is the way to go. So you don't want to tamper with the existing systems. So anything you add to it, make sure that you do kind of threat modeling session where you really inspect the system and see what is now integrating with what is the data flows that go in between those systems, and make sure that where possible you use type of data diodes or these type of things so that the original equipment can only send data to the new equipment and not the other way around. So that the train can continue to run autonomously while you can still extract some data from those systems that you can use in the smart systems that you add to it. So network zoning and monitoring, that nobody's tampering with it, is the way forward.
Network zoning and monitoring. Got it. Got it. And is that something, I mean, Flores, you already went into detail about the crisis simulation that would be at the Defend the Rail. Would you say, how is networking and monitoring, am I making a leap here? How is that tied into what attendees would see during that simulation?
Yeah, so our simulation will be paper based, but we will have injects of the information available based on the networks of this fictive railway operator that we will be simulating. So there will be some, well, I would say limited information from the networking systems, so that we can feed the participants with information so they can solve the crisis. But we won't have a live a technical setup where they have to deep dive into the logs and see where the hacker actually gained access to the network and how they could try to find it out.
Yeah, perfect, great. I thank you. I hope everyone's going to be able. I hope we're going to have a huge turnout, which I know we will, because we have in the past, and this is the 4th annual. But nonetheless, this is what you're presenting is exactly the type of critical discussion, critical exercise that lends itself to addressing the protection of our critical infrastructure in rail. So I appreciate that.
It's also about networking, in my opinion. So if a real crisis hits the sector, you want to make sure that you all work together, from regulators to train builders to component manufacturers to the ones that manage the tracks and so on. It's all together at that point in time.
Yeah. Well, to that, sure. I mean, what's the most essential thing, that enables us to work cross industry, amongst the operators, amongst the vendors, the regulators, and the providers? I mean, it can be a very delicate balance. It's a dance that needs to happen, so that it works together. What do you think? What are the biggest opportunities to improve upon it? Because I know Bureau Veritas, I mean, that's where you sit in a place that's poised to do just that.
No, true. And actually what we see nowadays is that every operator has so many specific demands for a train that no train is the same, actually, which makes it a huge risk and a huge investment for the train builders, because they have all kind of different requirements coming from all the ones that try to buy their trains.
Mm-hmm.
So I also see it as a great business opportunity to go more towards standards. And if you use the same standardized components that are already have cybersecurity certification on it, like the IEC 62443, and you also develop a sector standard like the TS 50701, and all comply to the same standard, and you put the same requirements in your tendering and those type of things, then all of a sudden you get a more harmonized ecosystem. And that more harmonized ecosystems is way easier to protect than all those special cases that they are building nowadays. So I think that working together in collaboration across the whole value chain of the rail sector really adds to harmonization, which also lowers the cost to protect these kind of things, because you have to design it only once in a secure way instead of so many different ways that you use for every operator.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can achieve that. I totally
Yes.
agree. Completely agree. Well, any parting remarks? I mean, this has been great. We are appreciative of you participating in Defend the Rail. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot to see for our attendees. Great discussion. What would you say is the takeaway message that you want yourselves, participants, government leaders, the community at large to take away?
Well, for me, that is that we know what Bureau Veritas stands for. We know that we work on cybersecurity for all kinds of customers in the railway sector, on security testing, security management, and security awareness. But what I really hope that people will see during our participation is that we have a very in-depth knowledge on the railway sector, that we bring our experts also to the conference to network, to share our knowledge, and that for any railway organization that is still doubting if their organization is prepared for the FIFA World Cup 2026, that they know who they need to call to ensure that they are resilient and they have their processes in place and they have a third-party outside view of, in this case, us, reviewing whether they will be secure during the FIFA World Cup. So maybe that's my takeaway, and probably Sjoerd, you will share something about the product manufacturer side, but I took the railway operator side in this case.
No, that's fair, and for sure for the operators, I really hope also that they link better together with their supply chain, so that they are not being driven crazy about all the different requirements, so that they can start standardizing. That's definitely something the product manufacturers want to do. But as a closing remark, I would say cybersecurity is really becoming a license to operate in the rail sector. And I wouldn't focus at compliance, even though all kind of regulation is popping up and so on and so on. This is really, once again, a boardroom topic. It's about managing your risks. And if you manage your risks in the right way, then compliance will follow automatically and not the other way around. Because I would say, look at the newspapers, see how many clients get infected by ransomware or these type of things. And many of them had their ISO 27K certification or whatever. Compliance is not the solution in there. But if you make sure that you use those type of standards to build a resilient organization, then compliance will follow automatically. It's not a goal in itself.
Great. Well said again. So I want to say thank you so much, Sjoerd Floris, for joining us, Bureau Veritas for supporting and participating. I hope you will have a successful and enjoyable time here at the event, February 10th and 11th. And this video will be available on our website for anybody who would like to watch it and share it. I want to thank you, and I'll look forward to seeing you in February.